Okay, well, we would like to welcome you all to the Virginia Farm to School Toolkit webinar series, a collaboration of Virginia Cooperative Extension and the Virginia Department of Education's school nutrition programs. I'm Amber Vallotton, a produce safety extension specialist at Virginia Tech, and I'm joined by my colleague Stuart Vermack, who's a food safety extension agent and director based in Loudoun County, Virginia, and we're co-leads for the Virginia Cooperative Extension Farm to School program team. This webinar series is designed to support and explain each chapter of the Virginia Farm to School Toolkit, which was developed to guide VCE Extension agents, school division administrators, school nutrition professionals, educators, school garden coordinators, and others toward using farm to school practices as a means to increase equitable access to fresh, healthy Virginia grown food while also providing hands-on learning opportunities in a variety of educational settings. Today's webinar is entitled Delivery and Distribution and is based upon Chapter 6 of the toolkit. While procuring locally grown food and raised products is obviously critical and was discussed in Chapter 4 of the toolkit, delivery and distribution of those procured foods is vital for fostering and strengthening a vibrant farm-to-school program. How those products are moved from the farm to specific school divisions and individual schools can often pose a challenge. Our goal for today is to highlight some of the tangible ways that food is being delivered and distributed as part of the farm to school value chain in Virginia. To this end, we're really excited to be joined today by our 6 panelists who will be sharing their stories about this important topic. I'd like to thank each so very much for being here today. We've asked our panelists to share their stories, and then we have a few follow-up questions, and then we'll open up the rest of the webinar for any questions that you might have. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box as the panelists are speaking so that we can get their perspective once they present their slides. Without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Philip Griffin from Smith County Public Schools.
Thank you, Amber. I do appreciate that. Like she said, my name is Philip Griffin, and I am the coordinator of auxiliary services for Smith County Schools. And my areas are transportation and child nutrition. And I'll have to say, I've been in this position about 10 years. And when we first started talking about farm to school, just a little bit nervous. We had several farmers come in and talk to us about it. And me, I really didn't know that much about farming, didn't know much about the process. And so they really educated me. And I thought, if they can do that for me, imagine what they'll do for children. So we've set that up. And I really should give most of the credit to my administrative assistant, Stephanie Hester. Stephanie was crucial in the development of the farm to school program in Smith County. She is a lady that she lived in Smith County all her life. She had connections with farmers because she grew up on a farm. And, she knew where to go. Unfortunately, Stephanie's mother is not doing well. She's in hospice care. And so Stephanie had to be with her today. So just know that when you talk about farm to school in Smith County, you're talking about Stephanie's baby because she's done a wonderful job with it. She handles the procurement, just making sure everything's where it needs to be. So I really can't do any justice to talking about the procurement and the compliance because that's Stephanie's area of expertise. And all I can say is she does a great job with it. Let's go to the next slide. So farm to school in Smith County. I can say it in really one word. It's communication. We talk to our farmers on a consistent basis. Don't just talk to them when we're ready to bring their produce or their products into our schools. We talk to them all year long. Our farmers, we don't really have huge farms, we have farms in different areas. And so the way it works out, we have farmers that pretty much adopt a school, or a school community adopts them, is probably a better way of putting it. And those farmers come in to talk with our students throughout the year, talking to them about various phases of the farming cycle that they use, and just to see those kids asking those questions and to see those farmers with the pride that they have is very worthwhile. And again, Stephanie's made those connections. You have someone that knows the people in your community. It's just, it's tantamount to, I mean, you've got to have that in order for there to be success. Without that, I don't think our farm school program would have gotten off, would not have even started. So what she does and what those farmers do with our children is amazing. We, on social media, Stephanie puts it out there when it's the delivery day, when they're bringing their produce to our schools. She promotes that. We've had people come by and just take pictures. We've had the Smith County Messenger, our local paper, come and do articles on that. And it's just, to see those farmers with that pride. And then they come on the days that we serve it. And on the lines, we'll say produced by Old Rich Valley Farms, or beef provided by Stickley Cattle. And to see those farmers watch those children enjoy their work, it's very rewarding. Next slide. So, I talked about this slide. It just goes right back to it. And we've had children go out to the Stickley Farms, and I'll tell you what, when I first saw that, I saw that first longhorn cattle. I don't know what you call that thing, but I call it intimidating. But the children learn it as it's just an opportunity to appreciate their community. And it's just amazing to see all the intricacies that go into raising beef. City boy like me, I didn't realize it. I learned a lot from going there, and you just keep that learning attitude. Our children have that learning attitude, and our farmers, they just see it as a way to maybe even get the next generation of farmers on there. And so for the children to appreciate the whole process, from the baby calves until the meat processing plant, and to delivery at the school, to our kitchen staff, we'll get into that a little bit later, preparing the food and then partaking in it. It's a very good component to the education that we provide our children that I myself didn't know that much about until we started in this process. But now I would not want to run a school cafeteria any other way. Next slide. Like I said, when our farmers deliver the food to the schools, it's great. But I don't know if that's enough. We all have to be proponents of the farm to school. I tell people all the time that, the products that we are putting in front of our children are very good on a daily basis. But when we put the farm to school products in front of our children, it turns to great. And I don't think you're going to find many children that would argue that point. They enjoy it. We enjoy watching everything happen. And the next step is, if you go to I would like to go to the nutritional benefits. So skip the delivery day slide, other than you see the farmers talking to our managers, and go to the nutritional benefits. At one school, well, actually at 3 different schools, and it's our middle school. We hadn't quite figured out how to put it in the elementary yet. At the middle schools in our county, we have the cafeteria managers bring students in, and we have a cooking club. And our children are able to see the produce that's coming in and how we turn those into nutritional meals. And I mean, there's many facets to showing children that cooking process. But the one that we're trying to drive home there is just, it takes a team. The farmers do their parts, our kitchen staff does their part, and then the children come in and they're willing participants in this program. And we have people that go above and beyond trying to instill the importance of farming and taking your role in the food chain. Our students gather that appreciation, and it's the cafeteria staff. They take pride in showing the children how to prepare those meals. It's just opportunities to teach, and the Farm to School program provides us with many opportunities. Go to the next slide. Again, the field trips to the local farms are days that I highlight on my calendar because, I mean, I learn a lot from them, but to see those children light up and the farmers light up with the pride that they have, it's just an incredible thing to do. It's an incredible thing to see. And I am very glad for this opportunity. Again, very appreciative of what Stephanie does. Wish she could have been here today, but I know that she would instill in you the values that she has, the importance that she sees in the Farm to School program, and the reason why that we are successful as a community is because of the hard work of people like her and our farmers and our cafeteria staffs that all pitch in together to make it a great opportunity for our students. So I, again, am a big proponent of it. Anything that I can do to support the Farm to School program, I do it. Our school system does it. We believe in it. Like I said, I don't think I'd run a school nutrition program any other way. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Beth.
Thank you so much, Philip. That is absolutely wonderful and amazing what you guys have accomplished. When we think about Farm to School at 4P, we are attempting to help rebuild a regional food infrastructure that can actually bring farms, small growers, mid-sized growers in our region, bring their food to schools at a scale so that we can serve a lot of different schools. What we've learned in doing the program is that every school is different. Their goals are different, their resources are different, the farmers that they want to connect with are different. And that can be challenging for us. And part of what we need to do to make it all work is try to create a consistent plan that works for all those schools. But some schools are able to do what Philip described, which they have done in such an amazing way with it looks like a number of different farmers. But it's, as Philip said, it's a lot of work. And what 4P does as a food hub is tries to take some of that work off the school so that you guys can stay focused on what you're doing, and we can work with you to develop the kind of program that you are interested in having. We work with about 100 small growers in Virginia, about 200 in the region. And when you look at what the food hub does in this role, if you can go to the next slide, what we are doing is essentially providing the infrastructure to make it feasible to reach a lot of different schools at the same time with product from our local growers. And we're looking to provide our local growers with that access to the schools, the markets that they need, at prices that will support them and allow them to thrive. And Brick is one of our growers who we really enjoy working with, so it will be fun to hear from him in a few minutes. He does direct farm school and he does through 4P, so he has both perspectives. So what the food hub brings to the plate is we have the infrastructure to manage at a larger scale. We have warehouses, we have trucks. We are able to plan with the farmers in a very forward-looking way. The comment about communication is absolutely true, and you're going to hear that again and again. Communication is ongoing with farmers at all times of the year. We also are able to manage the food safety for the school so that they don't have to worry quite as much about that. We're able to reach all of the schools in a district on the same day or within a couple of days. And that can be really challenging when you're trying to work as a single farmer with fewer resources to try to reach a lot of different schools. So we fully embrace schools being able to go out and do it on their own with local farmers. And that's one delivery mechanism that works terrifically well and creates these incredible relationships. We fill a different role trying to provide the schools with the ability to consistently get a fair amount of product over time to all of their schools. And we have been working with BDOE, and the schools have been tremendously supportive of what we've done. And it's been an incredibly rewarding thing for us to work on. So I'm going to turn it over to Louisa to talk a little bit about how our program worked and what went into it when we launched about a year ago or a year and a half ago on the program.
Excellent. Thank you, Beth. Stuart, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. And as Philip nicely mentioned previously, communication is key. When forming a new relationship with a school district, I can't reiterate the need to invest in planning upfront before entering into the execution. With regards to the fact of understanding from our point of view as a distributor what the school's needs are, what their delivery windows are. As Beth mentioned, some larger districts want all their deliveries on the same day across, and it might mean 5 truckloads need to go out just to make sure that we can hit their windows for delivery. And the majority of schools also want delivery at the beginning of the week, understandably, so that they can provide the freshest of food throughout that week. That leads into better planning from our side with our logistics. We have delivery minimums that we need to also make sure that we can achieve to ensure that we can actually cover those school districts, and laying out a plan up front based on when we will be getting there, when we have an order sequence. Anything that we can have as a plan can secure the stability of the operation ongoing and remove the need for constant communication, and only need to communicate ad hoc when we really need to, when there's a situation that arises, which we are all very much aware of with the produce world. That can happen anywhere from planting it to getting it to your end destination. With that in mind, with us being able to plan more upfront, and any additional time day helps with making sure that we can also secure a stable relationship with our vendors. And therefore it's really about relationship building, understanding the parameters and the expectations from all parties, and making sure that upfront we know what everybody's expecting and how we'll all operate in this partnership going forward. I will then hand over to Erin, who will take it from that initial planning stage, getting the framework of that planning understood from everybody in the relationship, to then the actual execution on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis.
Thanks, Louisa. So once everything has been set up with logistics, we move to the day-to-day operations of that, and I kind of work back maybe in a 5-week period from the actual week of delivery. So that looks like me getting with the P team to understand the different items that we want to offer, keeping in mind that these items have to be available 4 weeks from when we're offering the menu. So the P team is working with our vendors, P team being the procurement team, communicating with them to understand what their expectations are of their crops, what their volume is, and then we're thinking specifically about the things we can offer in large volume that we feel comfortable with in that regard. And then about 4 weeks ahead, I actually send the menu to the schools and get the order back from them within that week. And then we have our numbers set about from 3 to 2 weeks before the order is actually going out. We work with the P team, goes out to the vendors again and says, okay, I've got this many I need. Will you have those? And then about 1 week ahead, there's a lot of potential last minute pivots and changes to some of the orders. The products actually come into the warehouse late in the week, and we get all the invoices ready. So some of the challenges with all of that have to do with a lot of last minute changes, which Louisa alluded to. And that is sort of the blessing and the curse of planning this 4 weeks ahead, is that the vendor, the grower, the producer, they know what they planted, they know what they anticipate getting. But if it's a dry season, or if there's too much rain, or the weather plays a role in how much they can actually yield, and that can change how much we can actually get from them. But we've established these relationships, and so we can't pivot too easily. We can pivot to some degree to get smaller volumes to fill in if we're going to be shorted, but we're not, a Cisco, and we're not going to go get potatoes from California in a heartbeat. So that's back to Louise's point about the planning ahead and all of that, which is us working with multiple vendors and being able to tap one or two other vendors to fill in some of the smaller gaps for those. But that tends to be the biggest challenge for us, is any sort of last minute changes for the product coming in order for the schools to have all of their orders fulfilled. So that's the procurement and ops side. And again, it does come back to the communications, both within our team and with our vendors, and really making sure that we have those good relationships with our vendors, and understanding, giving them as much lead time as possible so they know that they've already sold their product. And then also communicating with us that, hey, we will have this or we won't have this. So thank you. Oh, and I believe Brick Goldman is next. Or did you have to wrap it up? Sorry.
If you can go back just a second. So just moving on, I'll talk really briefly about the reporting and invoicing on our side. The other thing that we do assist with our schools is if there are credits, if we need to go back to the grower, or if there's an issue with the product quality, we are very much the ones who resolve that, so that it's not, the school itself doesn't need to resolve that. And we provide reporting on where all of the food is coming from, so that they know where they're buying from and where their farmers are, making that connection again between the farmer and the school for those farmers that want to be involved in the kind of programs that Philip was talking about, trying to make that connection. And then just very briefly, and we'll probably touch on this more a little bit later, when looking at the some of what we've learned, and I think you heard it from Philip, you're hearing it from us, to communication is absolutely essential. Relationships are absolutely essential. Trust is absolutely essential, because we are dealing with local food that is going to be subject to changes depending on conditions. And we need to, as much as possible, build out a plan, know what that plan looks like, and know what our operations are as far ahead of time as possible, so that we are able to deliver and get everything where it needs to go when it needs to be there. But then we have to be flexible. And it has been tremendously rewarding working with the schools and kind of bridging that gap between the plan and flexibility, and getting the food to them and seeing the impact. We get lovely notes from the kids. We get pictures of the food when it's being produced and provided. In that connection, again, that understanding that this food is coming locally and is supporting local farmers and is connected to their community is so important and is so rewarding for everybody along the line that we're working with. And so next slide, and then I will turn it over to Brick.
Hey, I'm a grower. Again, I'm one of the 15 to 20 growers in the Southside Virginia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association. And really all that we want to do, folks, is raise vegetables that are suitable to go into the schools, or vegetables that the kids want. We struggle with the somewhat short growing season that we have, to raise stuff to go into the schools. When schools open in August, our field crops, vegetables in the fields are kind of winding down. The cucumbers, the tomatoes, the squash, all of that stuff is kind of coming to an end. But what we're doing is we're ramping up veggies, the veggies that we plant in our high tunnels. We're planting more that the kids really want. Lettuces, we're planting those in the high tunnels. We're planting cherry tomatoes. We're doing some cucumbers. We're doing radishes. We're doing kale. But those are the kinds of vegetables that we're planting in our high tunnels now, so that we have more of them coming in during the time the schools are in sessions. And then we're going to flip around, and in the early spring, we'll plant again in our high tunnels so that we'll have veggies coming in that we can bring to the schools in the early spring. So we're excited about the opportunity to sell our vegetables into the schools. We want to do more farm tours. Maybe this spring we'll get set up to bring the kids out to our schools before they get out and show them some of the things that we have in the fields. Joanne and I, we just talked a little bit about maybe having little blocks of vegetable fields, close by the highway somewhere where we can bring the kids right into any of our farms and show them things that we're actually raising in the fields. And maybe next May, before they get out, April, May, and just show them how things are grown out on the farm. And maybe even bring them in to look at our high tunnels in February and March to look at stuff that we have on our farms. But we're excited about the opportunity to sell veggies into the schools. And that's really all I have to say. We aren't in the distribution business. We team up with 4P Foods to
Can y'all
move.
move the slide forward? Sorry. All right, that's about the.
Okay. Joanne's got some slides. I'm going to let Joanne jump in and talk a little bit about the slides, okay?
All right, so we'll kind of tag team this. So first of all, Rick is the president of the Southside Virginia Fruit and Vegetable Producer Association. That association has members from about 8 or 9 surrounding counties. It's around 25, 30 members in there. And they have a hub area where they receive the product and then it's shipped out 4P or Produce Source Partners or wherever it's going from there. And then if y'all will move on to the next slide. All right, and so the association has got one refrigerated truck, and then they've got one truck that is not refrigerated. And so they, like they were saying earlier with 4P, instead of being a distributor, they decided they wanted to be more of a grower. There's lots of growers in the group, not a ton of people that want to line up deliveries and distribution. And so they're more of a growing organization. All right, you can move forward. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Brick, but this is some of the programs that the association is working with, and some of the ways that they are marketing their produce out into the communities.
All right. The one program that we're working with the Lynchburg City Schools, we got a $50,000 grant for the backpack program that Lynchburg City Schools provides for their children. So what we will do there, we will actually deliver vegetables right to the Lynchburg City Schools. They've got another outfit that actually puts these backpacks together. We'll deliver to that outfit. They put the vegetables in the backpacks, bring it back to the schools, and the schools give it to the kids. Again, we sell to 4P Foods for the most part, and 4P Foods moves most of our vegetables into the different school systems. Now, we have talked with 4P Foods about helping out some with our local schools right around us. We're in Charlotte County. That's our home base. We could physically move stuff to Appomattox or Prince Edward County or Charlotte County. The county's right around us, okay? We could help out there if 4Ps needs us to help move stuff into those schools. But for the most part, our product goes directly to Produce Source Partners and or to the 4P Foods.
All right, if you want to move on to the next slide. And then with that, we'll just say thank you. And then there's our contact if we can answer any questions or help with anything else.
Well, this is fantastic. Just hearing, I just love some of the key points that you all made. I heard repeatedly was this whole idea of communication, how essential that is, relationships. You also talked about trust. I really love that point. I think that is so critical for that whole chain of what's going on, and then flexibility. And it was really intriguing to hear how 4P serves as that aggregation point and distribution, because you all have those resources, but how working with the Growers Association is a really intriguing idea, how that can work. So as we kind of look forward, I just had a few kind of questions, and then we'll open it up the floor for the rest of folks if they have any questions for you. But of course, we can think about the challenges and some of the gaps in the delivery and distribution system, but I kind of want to focus on the positive here. So as you all look at some of those issues, what do you feel are some of the greatest opportunities with Farm to School in Virginia, especially in the context of this whole delivery and distribution and working together to make this happen? And I'll just open it up to the panel to,
I can take that from a 4P foods point of view. This last year where we've been delivering in 44 districts across Virginia, we've really learned a lot in the sense of what we can achieve, what we can do, and we've successfully done it all. We started off ramping up slowly, and that was key in our organization, with it being a brand new operation for us and with the schools and trying to understand you're dealing with a lot of partners. Hence leading back to that whole point of planning. If you invest that time, which we did invest a lot of time, and there was a lot of open questions and back and forth, but once you meet that happy ground and we can get there, then we can really keep expanding and keep getting more frequent orders in. More frequent standardized operation is key for us, for the farmers, for everyone, to make life easier. Like Erin mentioned, Cintas or the bigger companies. There's this idea that, you can pick up the phone today. We're all very used to this, order today for tomorrow, which is only really possible if you can get your planning in place up front, and you know what you want. So you know what your menu is, and understanding those timelines with your partner. So some schools might plan menu a month in advance. Great. That's great. We can work back off that. And as long as we're clear with our timelines with each of the schools and we can meet in the middle, it's like any relationship. You need a buy-in and a will to make that relationship work. And once you set that, it makes it a lot easier to then execute. And it's not about, oh no, another school district or anything else. It's just flowing them in and having that very clear framework that you can make sure you've touched on all the questions on what do you want, what do we have. Yes, understanding on what days you want it, what delivery schedule we can get to you. And as I said, we started slowly, sort of saying every school we can get once a month, to then be going, actually, we can get to you twice a month, to, okay, we could do this weekly. And then we've really been able to connect some and build some stronger relationships that way.
Yeah, and I'll add, I think what's really exciting is our initial toe in the water here was through the program that BDOE was running that allowed schools to start buying food basically on a grant. And what we're seeing as our schools are coming off of that grant money, we do have a number of them that are converting and starting to buy directly. And what is so exciting for me is that has allowed us to build the infrastructure to connect a lot of our growers to schools in that opportunity, because that infrastructure was all gone, and it stopped existing as we were competing with the traditional food system. So seeing that infrastructure built back up again gives an opportunity across the state to do a lot more of this and to be able to reach a lot more schools. So that's really exciting to me. And then it also means that we are able to give so much more money to our farmers. Now, we might be, if you can go direct to your farmers, it might be less expensive than going through 4P, because we have these other costs around distribution warehouses. But when I look at the traditional food system gives about 14 or 15 cents of a dollar of sales to the farmer. We are able to give at least 50 cents of a dollar of sales to the farmer. So that strengthens our rural economies. It helps our growers have a living that they can actually be sustainable on. And that strengthens our region. So all of this connection between the schools, the growers, the community is really what excites me. And I see a huge impact in the next coming years as we continue to work on this.
Yeah, so Beth, or the rest of you from 4P, if you could, I know a lot of folks are familiar with, more of the broadline distributors like the Cisco's of the world and the really big players. Share with us how what you all are doing is different. And I already know the answer to this, but I kind of thought like if you all could share some about that.
Yeah, so 4P is, we are a benefit corporation, a public benefit corporation. And as such, in addition to making money so that we're sustainable and we continue as an organization, we also have a mission. And this particular program is such a slam dunk on our mission, because our mission is on the one side to buy food from local farmers and provide them with enough income that they actually can survive and thrive, not just be subsistence like so many farmers are and have been. And on the other side, it's to connect that food to communities so that no matter what your geographic region or your income or your zip code, you have access to local, healthy, nutritious food from local growers. And this particular program has been such a combination of those two things. We fundamentally believe that we need to rebuild the regional food ecosystem and be able to have the infrastructure to move food from our local growers to our big institutional customers. That includes K through 12 schools, but also like universities, so that we get the volume to support our farmers in the long run, and we have a regional infrastructure that can support regional food.
Thank you. So I have tons of questions, but I want to open it up for the floor for those of you that are participants in this webinar. If you have questions, then we can always come back to mine at the end of it, if that's okay. So are there questions? If anyone who's attending today, you can either use the chat box to write your question, or you can just unmute yourself, and we would love to. We've got some great folks here who can share from so many different perspectives. So please feel free to ask your questions right now.
I'll go ahead and ask a question, get the ball rolling. Maybe if the 4P team can just speak a little bit about, dive a little bit. I mean, I'm a food safety person, so it'd be just interesting for you. You know, you mentioned, Beth, that going with the distributor, you know, like 4P, who's so involved in farm to school, can take some of the challenges of meeting food safety requirements out of the hands of growers. So can you just sort of share what do you mean by that, and sort of expand on that? And maybe Brick, if you can think about, you know, how do you navigate those food safety requirements and what that looks like for you when you sell to those schools. But Beth and the 4P team, I'll let you sort of elaborate on that.
Yeah, so we have our own standards, which are all regulated compliance standards that then, you know, with regards to temperature, there's not so much a legal regulation as much as also just ensuring the quality of the goods. With the farmers, when we are onboarding farmers, we have a vendor onboarding package to ensure that our certifications are, that the farmer has the certifications that would then allow it based on what the schools need, i.e. maybe potentially a GAP certified farmer to work through their systems. We will make sure that we've got the farmers that have got that GAP certification and keep records of that as well to ensure that the goods flowing through. Some partners don't require GAP, some do. We are also supporting our farmers to get GAP certified, and looking at resources to help farmers who are starting out work their way up the levels that they can then also sell to even more stringent than GAP only required customers.
I might add jumping on the food safety issue. And not all of our growers are GAP certified, but as an association, we do food safety training with our grower group each year. We also do farm visits. Joanne does a lot of that for us. When we go out on the farm and we look at the production practices that our growers have in place on their farms, we make sure that they're safe practices that they employ on their farms. And then when product comes into our aggregation site, our aggregation warehouse, we do inspect that product. And before it gets shipped out, we put our stamp of approval on product that our growers bring in and we ship out for them. We want to keep our food safe, and we want to keep 4Ps in business. And if we bring them safe, fresh product, they will stay in business. And we do our best to make sure we bring them the best product.
Thank you, Brett. Thanks. Lucy.
And we had a question in the chat box. Philip, can you please share with us how Smith County gets local food to each school? And then as a follow-up, do the producers drop off at each school, or do your staff transport the food from one school to the others?
We have the farmers, like I said, we don't really have a lot of large farms. So it's kind of hard for one farm to supply food to all the schools. So we have it broken up into regional areas. The farmers will take a delivery and take it to Sugar Grove or Atkins, whichever one happens to be in their community. They bring it, and here again, you go to the communication and relationships. Our farmers and our managers have developed some good working relationships just because of that interaction. And it works out good with them. They get a chance to come into the school. They get a chance to put names with faces. And it's a system that works well.
Okay, thank you. We had another question. This was actually from Aaron Kath to anyone who's here from a school district. What are the biggest challenges for you to engage in a farm to school program? So if anyone would like to.
Yeah, I will say that for me, Amber, it was taking that initial leap of faith and just trusting folks that are doing what they're supposed to do to make sure the products are safe. And, once I got over that, whether that was anybody else's in the school's hang up or just my own personal ones, when I started seeing what those farmers were doing, when I started learning how they would meet certain requirements and meet certain standards, I felt a lot better about it. And it kind of took off from there. But yeah, that initial leap of faith was a tough one for me.
There are other questions that folks might have related to what we've talked about today. I know one thing that I was really curious about, and I think you all have already kind of said a lot of this, but if you had any valuable tips, whether it's on a local level or regional or statewide level, as farm to school practitioners that are trying to get into the whole farm to school scene, what tips would you give folks in terms of meeting their delivery and distribution needs? I know that's like a really big one. Where do they even start? Because I'm seeing this whole network. You've got the school side of things there wanting to procure. You've got the grower side. You've got the delivery, the distribution. So how do you bring all those pieces together?
I can add something from a 4P angle again. With that, I'd say, contact us. Let's start the conversation. I would say you've got to start somewhere. It doesn't mean your whole menu has to now suddenly be a change of ordering function. Just we also have a calendar which shows when what is in season in the area. So it's not that there's some guidance that you could maybe tap into tomatoes when they are in season and just try with the tomatoes and gradually build up. I think that is how I would recommend it. How we've seen the success is starting smaller and building that up. So it's less daunting, less additional workload or feel of workload and planning that maybe just feels too much when you've already got a very busy schedule, which I completely understand. Some schools have dedicated people, which is fantastic if they can, but I understand that that's not always feasible. And we will also help with sort of trying to model it in a way, like if it's, as I said, 1 month, we can try it can be one-off, it can be a bigger program, and sort of building up from those baby blocks is really where I think there's a key to remove the fear or the burden or the load on it to get it going.
And I think the experiences that we have had, and it sounds like Philip has had this in his school as well, having a supporter, having a representative, having someone who really cares about the farm to school is one of the guarantees of success. And the innovation, bringing in innovative solutions like Smith County has done to the transportation delivery it is really about communication, relationships, trust, whether you do it through 4P or you do it, figure out how to do it yourselves. Once you decide you really want to do it, you'll find a way to do it.
What about you, Brick? What do you feel in terms of your association at the level you are? What tips or advice would you share?
Okay, you have to stay at it. We want to get more engaged with the schools right around us to get a feel for what they really want. They're giving us a pretty good idea of what veggies really fit the table for the kids. Okay, and just networking with those school coordinators, the food coordinators at the school, just contacting them, letting them know about the program, letting them know that we're out here. And we let them know that we work with 4P Foods, and then at times 4P Foods will let us deliver directly to them if it's more efficient to do so. But just connecting with the people that head up the school nutrition programs, that's helped us move stuff into the schools.
Okay, great. And I'm going to put Joanne Jones on the spot here. I work a lot with Joanne Jones, and I'm just curious from the extension standpoint, Joanne, if you could just share how you've been able to play a role on this whole thing with the delivery and distribution side of things. I know you're involved in a lot of things, but can you just share some?
Yeah, so I think with delivery and distribution, I just help the produce group wherever they need me. If it's setting something up, I do a lot more, like he said, with the GAP and the educational component. I've worked heavily with Amber. And then I would also like to say, I do agree with Philip, I think it was, with trying to do the schools. It's really just getting them to take that leap of faith and that one jump. And so I did work heavily with the group back before COVID, and we established a relationship with Mecklenburg County Schools. And so I helped set up, we went in and did some educational events where we brought in different products that the kids could sample during their lunch. Like we had 10 or 11 different things and little cups, and we brought other agents in from the district to help the cafeteria staff prep those. And the kids tried things they never had before. We took farmers in, and the kids rotated through stations and learned, the different products they grow and about planting the seeds. We had a nutritional talk. And so I think as Extension, we serve more as the educational component to what they need. As far as the distribution, just helping whatever they ask me to do, I'll gladly do so. But we do more of education.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that anyone has before we?
I might add
Yes,
that,
of course.
4P Foods, they're an integral part of us getting into these schools, because there's no way as growers that we could get around to all the schools and get product to the different schools. So we're just grateful that they joined in this effort to get more local produce, vegetables, and fruits, meats, and all into our schools.
And what is the plan for the future in terms of some of the areas of Virginia? I know, there are parts that aren't serviced as well in terms of the distribution side of things. Are there any things kind of in the queue that are coming down the pike here that are exciting things? Or I know you may not be able to talk about it, but I'd just be curious.
As we said, we're continuing. The VDOE program has given us the ability to build infrastructure, and we are accommodating any of the schools that want to continue with us. We are accommodating. We're getting better and better and getting more consistent with the schools that are in our immediate delivery footprint. Some of the schools that we were delivering to were a stretch for us from a logistics standpoint, but we've also gained a lot of skill in using third-party delivery mechanisms. So we are, the initial round of our VDOA program is ending at the end of September, but we are continuing the relationships with the schools with the intent of continuing to build the capacity to serve the schools.
Okay, great. Well, we're close to time here, but Stuart, if I could just get back the ending slides there. First of all, I really want to thank all our panelists again. This has been really fantastic, and it's been really exciting to hear all the great work that's going on at so many levels, and especially the different perspectives that you all have shared. And I just really am thankful that you all were able and willing to be here today. And I just wanted to also encourage you about our upcoming webinars that we have. If you look at this slide, we will be having our last 3 remaining webinars, and which you can see here. So I encourage you to go to the website that's immediately below there, and you can sign up for those webinars if you're interested in those topics. We've got a really good slate of speakers and panelists who will be there for October, November, and December, and encourage you to come if you are available or if you know of others who could benefit. And then we are recording all these, and so these are available thus far on this website that's listed at the bottom. It's a playlist, so you can go in there, and any that you may have missed from previous webinars that we've talked about: food safety, procurement, how to build a farm to school team, telling your story, and just an introduction to the whole toolkit. So thank you again for joining us today, and we really, really appreciate you being here, and look forward hopefully to seeing you next month.